The year was 1975. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi declared state of emergency. The fundamental rights of citizens were taken away for next 2 years. The democracy was destroyed and the dictatorship was established in India. And those 2 years are still considered as the darkest period of Indian democracy. We talk about emergency a lot, but do we actually know what happened during emergency? Why emergency was imposed in the first place? What was the need of our former Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi to declare the state of emergency? Why did she do that? Is there any reason to that? If so, what was that particular reason? Let's find out today. So, what is national emergency? National emergency is a situation where there is a restriction on the fundamental rights of the citizens. It's literally like democratic nation is being converted into autocratic on one of the particular period in time. And this is legally possible under Article 352 of Constitution. Article 352 states that if the President is satisfied on the grounds that the security of the nation is threatened due to external aggregation or armed rebellion, he can declare an emergency. So, national emergency can be declared for three reasons. Number one, due to war. Number two, external aggregations. Number three, internal disturbances. And this could be surprising for you. 1975 was not the first time India went through an emergency. Before that, India faced emergency two times. The first emergency was declared by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru in 1962 when Indochina was breakout. During this emergency, the government has increased the power to control the media and ability to detain the common citizens of India without any trial. Even the war ended within a month. Nehru did not revoke the emergency and it is officially lifted after the 5.5 months in 1968. The second emergency was declared by former PM Indira Gandhi in 1971 when Indo-Pakistan War broke out. Although the war ended in 2 weeks, the state of emergency was not lifted until 1977, which means almost 6 years. With the second emergency still in force, PM Indira Gandhi declares the third emergency on June 25, 1975, and this emergency was different from the previous two emergencies was declared on the basis of external aggregations, which means India was fighting battles with China and Pakistan. So it didn't directly affect the common people of India, even though it was forced for a longer time. So, what was the reason for the third emergency? It all started with 1971 Lok Sabha elections when Congress got a massive victory, securing 352 seats out of 518. Indira Gandhi won from rivalry constituencies by defeating her opponent Raj Narayan by 110,000 votes. But Raj Narayan filed an election petition in Allahabad High Court challenging Indira Gandhi's victory. An election petition is something that filed directly in the High Court questioning the election of a particular candidate, and such petition has to be filed within 45 days of the declaration on the election results. Section 143 of RP Act, that is the Representation of the People Act, mentions that particular candidate was involved in the certain corrupt practices and the election of the particular candidate can be declared invalid. So Raj Narayan raised a list of allocations, but most of them were turned on by the High Court, which means most of the allocations were dismissed by the High Court. By the court did consider two significant findings which were Indira Gandhi election was invalid. So what are those two significant findings against Gandhi? 1. The placement of stage and the loudspeakers, barricades and the posting of policemen of Gandhi's election campaign. Yashpal Kapoor, the district magistrate, the superintendent of the police at the home of Secretary of Uttar Pradesh government. And this is the violation of law. Number 2. Use of government officer as an election agent. The second finding against Gandhi was employment of Yashpal Kapoor as an election agent. Yashpal Kapoor was a gazetted officer in the government of India. He was on special duty in PM Secretariat, but he didn't submitted the resignation and then was appointed as election agent. So what's the problem then? Listen carefully. This is where it gets complicated. Yashpal has submitted his resignation on January 13, 1971, and his resignation was accepted on the very next day. Since he was working on a special duty at Prime Minister's Secretariat, he also needed their approval. So their approval came only on January 25th, 1971. Then he was appointed as an election agent of Mrs. Indira Gandhi on February 4th, 1971. So the problem here is he was a government officer until January 25th, 1971. He delivered the election speeches on behalf of Mrs. Gandhi on January 7th and another speech on January 19th and 1971. And this was the usage of government officer as an election agent is a violation of law under Article 123 of the RP Act. Based on these findings, on January 12th, 1975, the Allahabad court had passed a judgment and the Indira Gandhi had engaged in election fraud and banned her in 6 long years from the which means shall as to be unseated as a prime minister. Then an appeal was made in Supreme Court which allowed a partial stay under judgment given by Allahabad High Court June 24, 1971. By this day, she could continue as MP in Lok Sabha and couldn't attend Parliament House meetings until the next hearings. But she could not participate in its proceedings as vote as MP. Most importantly, the Supreme Court allowed her to continue as a Prime Minister until the next hearing, but she was not satisfied with that. She wanted a complete stay on the judgment given by Allahabad High Court. Things has to work as per the constitution, so that the stay given by Supreme Court was not that bad deal. She could have grabbed that, but she knows that just in stay order. If she lost this case, in future she would have been stepped down as a Prime Minister. That's it. Declare the state of emergency. She went straight to the President Fakhruddin Ali and advised him to declare the state of emergency. In her letter, the President she wrote information has reached as it indicate it is a danger in the security of India. The matter is extremely urgent. In 1978, the interview with journalist Jonita Mrs. Gandhi was asked what was the exact danger to India's security that made her to declare emergency, for which she simply replied, "It is obvious. The whole subcontinent had to be de-established. But the only obvious reason which could be see her is she is being unseated as the Prime Minister and banned from the politics for the 6 years, which I really fell away too unfair for these minor violations. She should have fought it legally. But being a Prime Minister, she literally turned a democratic nation into dictatorship just because she was being punished. There are people just satisfying in saying it was internally disturbances at the time. That's why she declared emergency. What do you expect when a prime minister being dethroned? But the disturbances was not against India, it is against Ms. Gandhi. And there were people sitting on the protest that happened Bihar and Gujarat reason for the declaration of the emergency. But those protests happened in 1974. The emergency was declared in 1975 that were right after the Supreme Court order. Forget about discussions. Most of the cabinet ministers were not even informed about this. They got to know just few hours before the announcement was made. So, as the advice of Indira Gandhi, the President Fakiruddin Al-Amin declared the state of emergency on June 25th, 1975. Within few hours, a lot of opposition parties leaders were arrested. Powers applied to the newspaper officers in Delhi were disconnected that night so that no newspaper could be printed. Very next morning, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi announced on the radio, and thus began the darkest period of Indian democracy. The fundamental rights of the citizens were taken away. The common people who were protested against it was arrested and convicted without any trial. And the numbers caused 1 lakh. Imagine 1 lakh innocent people were arrested. Even the Congress leaders who spoke against it was made to be resign their post and get arrested. And this list includes the freedom fighters too. And Sanjay Gandhi, the son of Indira Gandhi, was very brutal and patriotic to the nature. He wanted to be next successor of the Congress. During the emergency period, he completely destroyed the slum areas in Delhi and carried out a mass sterilization across India. Men, women, married as well unmarried, were randomly taken from their homes, railway stations, farms, and was brought to camps for a mass sterilization. What even more was is the medical procedures were done in an extremely absurd, unhygienic way. And it was not just men who suffered, even women were forced to get ectopancy done. 81 lakh people were totally sterilized and considerable numbers of the people died in the process. The emergency was finally withdrawn and the emergency was restored in 21st March 1977 after 21 long months. But the people were so furious about the Indira Gandhi and her son Sanjay Gandhi got badly defeated. In 1977 election, Ajanta party came to power. That was the first time a non-Congress party was established. Historian Ramachandra Guha criticized Indira Gandhi, saying she had an uncomfortable relationship with the democracy. She also cited conversation between Indira Gandhi and her son where she said that democracy not only throws up a mediocre person but gives a stance and most vocal however lack of knowledge and understanding. I personally admire Indira Gandhi especially. She has taken a lot of brave decisions in terms of the foreign affairs unlike her father. But this part, the emergency of 1975, will remain a black spot, not just her political career, but also in the history of Indian democracy. Thank you.